Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. Good evening, all here. Well, at this time anyway. How are you guys all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Snowflake on America. Because, yeah, we're going to put ourselves through hell and listen to 6 really terrible stories that's happening in America. Because why the hell not, guys? As you guys know, Max is not live streaming because he's heading here to the UK. So that's hence why he's not doing a live stream tonight. So I thought I'd step in around this time for you guys. So this is episode 2, so second ever episode. The first one was obviously, of course, the big hoo-ha between Trump and Zelensky. This one won't be as on that level. It's basically we're going to cover several articles today. So kind of like the viewpoint, but basically the American version, guys. The date and time of this is the 21st of March 2025 at 8 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1. Restream is working again. It wasn't working the last time I went live. So if you are on twitch.tv, welcome. Please feel free to hit the follow button and hit the bell notification icon on there so you'll be notified when I go live. And for all those on YouTube, make sure if you haven't already, hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and there's a little bell notification icon. Even though it's on, sometimes it doesn't always work, so sometimes you might need to turn it off and turn it back on if you want to be notified whenever I go live. Let's just see who we got in the chat tonight. Steam Maker, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Martin Brisk. Ginger Lefty there as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Alistair Keir as well, one of our moderators. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you are doing well. He also gifted 5 memberships. That's very, very kind of you, Alistair. Thank you so much for your support. Giving 5 to Tim Bolzman, Mithril, Matt Parker, Caffel OG, and Ange were all gifted memberships there. Very kind of you, my friend. Thank you so much for your support. Madmonk33, good to see you, buddy. Hope you are doing well. And Jow there at the bottom as well of the chat is just popping up. Good morning, Steve McMahon. How are you? Good to see you there. Just popped up on the chat there as well. So yes, guys, we're going to talk a lot of things about America. Some of these stories are absolutely... The first story I've actually got is it's actually kind of the worst out of all of them, because the ramifications of this will actually kill Americans, and I mean literally kill Americans. Let me just give you the headline and I'll explain. So this is from the New York Times. So Kennedy's alarming prescription for bird flu on poultry farms. So the health secretary has suggested allowing the virus to spread as to identify birds that may be immune, and such an experiment would be disastrous, scientists say. So yes, the current health secretary of the United States of America is suggesting, rather than culling and stopping a virus spread, no, we need to let it spread so that we can identify birds that may be immune to it. Obviously, what could possibly go wrong with that? Well, for starters, what could happen is it could mutate. It could mutate potentially into something that could be dangerous to Americans. So never mind the fact that you are allowing it to spread among animals, you are risking the possibility of creating a virus, a disease within the United States that could spread and potentially kill Americans. Obviously, this is how insane it is, guys. This is what he is suggesting. This is like allowing COVID to spread. That's how insane this man is. You know, it's bad enough with everything else that we've been hearing about what's been happening in America. We're talking about a health secretary that generally doesn't have a problem with the possibility of Americans dying, because that's exactly what this is. Americans could very well die as a direct result of his actions. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nation's top health official, has an unorthodox idea for tackling the bird flu proliferating U.S. poultry farms. Let the virus rip. Instead of culling birds when the infection is discovered, farmers should consider maybe the possibility of letting it run through the flock so that we can identify the birds, preserve the birds that are immune to it, Mr. Kennedy said recently on Fox News. You don't know. That's not how it works. You're supposed to stop it, contain it. You're supposed to stop the disease, contain the disease. Don't allow it to mutate. Stop it dead in its tracks. Because there's always a possibility with any of these flu or diseases. There is always the possibility that they can transfer onto humans. It is always impossible. In most cases, it's unlikely. But it can happen. It can happen. That's how crazy this is, guys. He has repeated the idea in other interviews on the channel. Mr. Kennedy does not have jurisdiction over farms, but Brooke Rollins, the Agriculture Secretary, has also voiced his support for the notion. There are some farmers out there that are willing to really try this on pilot as we build the safe perimeter around them to see if there's a way forward with immunity, Mr. Rollins told Fox News last month. Yeah, of course, because, rather than actually, finding an a vaccination or anything like that. No. We're just going to let the immune system deal with it. Find an immune system, Oh, my days. Yet veterinary scientists said letting the virus sweep through poultry flocks unchecked would be inhumane and dangerous and have enormous economic consequences. That's a really terrible idea. And for any one number of reasons, said Dr. Gal Hudson, a former state veterinarian for Kansas. Since January 2022, there have been more than 1,600 outbreaks reported on farms and backyard flocks occurring in every state. More than 166 million birds. 166 million birds have been affected. So that's since January 2022. 166 million birds in that time. That's insane. Every infection is another opportunity for the virus, called H5N1, to evolve into a more fraudulent form. Geneticists has been tracking its mutation closely. So far, the virus has not developed the ability to spread among people. But this is the thing. Just because it hasn't spread among people doesn't mean that it can't mutate to spread among people. You don't know that if it's going to or not. You're literally, it's like playing with fire. You're playing with fire. It's exactly what it is. Like, you think you have the fire under control, but that fire can go out of control at any point. Just because you have control of it doesn't mean that you'll always have control of it. But if H5N1 were to be allowed to run through the flock of 5 million birds, that's literally 5 million chances for that virus to replicate or to mutate, Dr. Hunston said. Large numbers of infected birds are likely to transmit massive amounts of the virus, putting farm workers and other animals at great risk. So now you're setting yourself up for bad things to happen, Dr. Hunston said. It's a recipe for disaster. Emily Hudson, the Deputy Press Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Resources, said Mr. Kennedy's comments were aimed at protecting people from the most dangerous versions of the current bird flu, which is found in chickens. Culling puts people at high risk of exposure, which is why Secretary Kennedy and NIH want to limit culling activities, she said, referring to the National Institute of Health. Culling is not the solution, strong biosecurity is. Her plan to combat bird flu, Mr. Runs recommended strengthening biosecurity on farms, prevent the virus from entering their premises or halting its spread with stringent cleaning and use of protective gear. But that is a long-term solution. The USDA is beginning those efforts in just 10 states. The virus first took root among wild birds, which is transmitting to domestic poultry and various mammal species. And now a single infected duck flying overhead may drop excrement onto a farm where a chicken or turkey may ingest it. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to spread. Farming poultry have weak immune systems and are under enormous environmental stress. Often packed together in wired cages or poorly ventilated barns, within a day, H5N1 can sicken as much as a third of the flock. Infected birds can develop severe respiratory symptoms, diarrhea, tremors, and twisting of their necks and produce mishaps or fragile eggs. Many die gasping for breath. Some birds die suddenly without showing any symptoms of all. That's horrible. This is horrible, inhumane, horrible to animals. The speed at which infected birds collapse have been cited as one of the reasons that officials believe eggs to be safe for consumption. Most sick birds die before they can lay an egg, so they are visibly diseased and it's easy to filter them out. Poultry farmers called the authorities as soon as they spot the signs of illness or death. If the test runs turn up positive for both bird flu, they are reimbursed for killing the rest of the flock before the virus spreads any further. If farmers were instead to let the virus make its way across the farm, these infections will cause very painful deaths in nearly 100% of the chickens and turkeys, said Dr. David Swain, a poultry veterinarian who worked at the USDA for nearly 30 years. 100% very painful deaths. Like the thing, like who would, like, that's so horrible. That's so horrible. We don't think about the animals in this. Like, I really don't. Steam Banker, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. That's very kind of you, my friend. Thank you so much for your support. Giving 5 to Jow, Wee Bud, The Witchy Goth, Tories Don't Get Tagged, and Ben Ridgings. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. That's very kind of you, my friend. I thank you. Really appreciate all your support. The result would be inhumane, resulting in unacceptable animal welfare crisis, he added. Methods to cull birds can also be cruel, but at least are generally faster. Farmers who cull infected flocks must also clean the premise and pass audits before restocking. They are often eager to restore the crisis quickly. Simply stepping back would have serious financial consequences. Strategy means more longer quarantines, more downtime, more lost revenue, and increased expenditure, said the USDA scientist, who was not authorized to speak to the media. Yeah, more. Yeah, it's a lot. How? Mr. Kennedy has suggested that a subdued of poultry might be naturally immune to bird flu, but chickens and turkeys lack the genes needed to resist the virus, experts say. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. He's so mad. Daily Blase, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for a great show. Great show today, my friend. Thank you so much. 5-star performance. 5-star performance. If you're here on this channel and you haven't subscribed to Daily Blase, what are you doing with your life, as he always says? Make sure you subscribe to Daily Blase's channel. Absolutely wonderful. Great Friday Frolics live stream. And of course, he does wonderful content as well, guys. The way we raise birds now, there's not a lot of genetics vulnerability, Dr. Hansen said. They're all the same birds, basically. Public health regulations would forbid the very few birds that might survive an infection from being sold. In any event, those birds might only be protected against current versions of H5N1, not others that emerge as the virus continues to evolve. The biology and immunology doesn't work that way, Dr. Keith Paulson, director of Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostics Laboratory. Letting the virus spread unchecked would also likely lead to trade embargoes against poultry from the United States, he added. That's a huge economic loss immediately. Well, we know that they're looking to cut themselves off from the rest of the world with the way they're going. But, you know, Trump doesn't really care, does, to be fair. In one interview with Fox News, Mr. Kennedy had also suggested that the virus doesn't appear to hurt wild birds. They have some kind of immunity. We just looked at reports of them literally killing birds and having them horrible, terrible deaths. Simon says 55, good to see you there, buddy. And anybody else, if I haven't missed in the chat, hope you're all doing well. In fact, while ducks and shortbirds may not have shown symptoms, H5N1 has killed raptors, waterfowl, sandhill cranes, and snow geese, among many other species. And by the way, they do not like the New York Times, guys. They really do not like the New York Times reporting on stories like this because it exposes them. They really don't like stories like this. But yeah, so, you know, we talked to, when you remember when COVID came along and it came from China, there's a very possibility that something like that could potentially come from America, because that's how crazy this health secretary is. My advice to anyone out there is please wash your hands. Please take all hygienic precautions as possible. If you are out there, if you are an American, please do. I cannot stress that enough. And please try to avoid doing what he suggested, because he does not know what he's talking about. He's not an expert. And when these experts are saying he's nuts, then you know that he's absolutely nuts. Mr. Kennedy, if wild birds are genetically different than other birds, you muppet. Yeah, exactly. Remember what herd mentality did to the UK? Yeah. How did that herd immunity idea that Boris Johnson suggested in the UK do? Yeah, there. We all remember that, don't we? Your sound is a bit low. Got my phone on max. Let me see. Let's see if I pull it a bit closer. I'm just gonna whack my mic's volume up to 200%. Hopefully that does a little bit better there, Simon, for you. Yeah, thank you for all the new members, Stephen Banker and Aztekir. Appreciate that. The USA will be banned from traveling to Europe without the proper vaccination. Yeah, it probably won't be long for that either. Yeah, because it's like we can't trust you to be here. One problem to the next here. So DOGE is blocked in the court from social security systems with Americans' personal information for now. So thank God for the courts. But like it says there, for now, it's only a matter of time before like this Trump administration and it's nasty people behind it get away with doing whatever the hell they want. So I just, it's, remember this DOGE guys, you need to understand them. They're not an official government department. They haven't gone through the proper processes. Elon Musk has not been like put in front of the Supreme Court, for example, for he's vetting or anything like that as well. It's just absolutely insane that these people were able to get as close as they did. I mean, I'm glad that this block has come in place, but to be fair, I would not be surprised if they ignore this block from the courts, because we know that they've been doing that with regards to certain flights going out of certain immigrants. Chris Fisher, good to see you, buddy. Hope you are doing well. So let's read a bit more into this. So a federal judge on Thursday temporarily blocked billionaire Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from social security systems that hold personal data on millions of Americans, calling their work there a fishing expedition. The order also requires the team to delete any personnel identifiable data in their possession. How do you know that they've done that? Answers on a postcard, please. U.S. District Judge Ellen Holliger in Maryland found that the team got broad access to sensitive information at the Social Security Administration to search for fraud and little justification. The DOGE team is essentially engaging in fishing expedition at the SSA in search of its fraud academic based on little more than suspicion, she wrote. The order does allow DOGE staffers to access the data that has been redacted or stripped of anything personal identifiable if they undergo training and background checks. To be sure, rooting out possible fraud, waste and mismanagement in the SSA is in the public interest, but that does not mean that the government can flaunt the law to do so, Hollander wrote. The Trump administration said DOGE was targeting waste in the federal government. Musk has been focused on Social Security as an alleged hotbed of fraud, describing it as a Ponzi scheme and insisting that reducing waste in the program is an important way to cut government spending. Yeah, because obviously you really do speak in the interest of the American people. Oh, you're not even American, are you? Oh no, you're an immigrant. Like you're an immigrant, aren't you? The ruling, which could be challenged on appeal, comes as a lawsuit filed by labour unions, retirees, and the advocacy group Democracy Forward. They argue that DOGE access violates privacy laws and prevents serious information security risks. The lawsuit includes a declaration from a recently departed Social Security official who saw that the DOGE team swept into the agency, and she said she is deeply worried about sensitive information being exposed. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Is this related? Sorry. Oh, this is the tracking of lawsuits against Trump's executive actions. Dozens of lawsuits have been filed out during President Donald Trump's second administration, challenging his executive order, as well as actions taken by his administration there. This is insane. So you got partially or fully blocked there in red, courts left in effect green, and then pending 63. Look how many. Agency cuts. Plaintiff seeks to stop. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's just agency cuts. Challenging plans to eliminate the Department of Education. Yeah, he signed an executive order, but he can't technically do it. Yep. Yep, we know because under the 14th Amendment. So you got State of New Jersey, Brazilian Workers Center, New Hampshire there. CASA in State of Washington. All that against the birthright citizenship as well. DEI, higher education versus Trump there. DOGE, obviously, we're just talking about them there. State of California versus the U.S. Department of Education, challenging the elimination of grants there. Federal funding as well. Oh my god! Look, all this, guys. These are all Trump. This is how insane things are. Absolutely out of control. Plaintiffs challenging the president's order suspending U.S. refugees resettlement program. Yeah, we'll get to a bit of immigration later because it's really horrible what's happening with immigration, guys. And I'm going to share the British story about the British citizen that you might not know about as well. Transgender rights as well. It's been facing transgender women in prison seek to stop transfer to men's facility. Yeah, that's what's this other one? Doctors for America. Transgender removal of data from website. All that. 63 pending. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. DOGE detailed that a 10-person team of federal employees at the SSA, 7 of whom were granted read-only access to agency systems or personal identifiable information, according to the court documents. The staffers were all federal employees allowed to access the data under federal privacy laws, the government argued. And there's no evidence that any personal data was improperly shared. The Justice Department also said that DOGE access doesn't deviate significantly from normal practices inside the agency, where employees are routinely allowed to search its databases, but attorneys for the plaintiffs called the access unprecedented. Lee Saunders, president of the American Federation of State, County and Borough Port Employees, called the ruling a major win for working people and retirees across the country. Sky Perryman, president of Democracy Forward, said that our courts recognise the real and immediate dangers of DOGE's reckless actions and took action to stop it. DOGE has gotten at least some access to other government databases, including the Treasury Department and the IRS. At the SSA, DOGE, no thank you. DOGE staffers swept into the agency days after Trump's inauguration and pressed for a software engineer to quickly gain access to system data that are normally carefully restricted, even within the government. A former official said in court. Yeah, I remember, like, literally the few days after when they went in, you know, some people got pushed aside, didn't they? Put on holiday leave or whatever, who tried to stop them. The team appeared to be searching for fraud-based inaccuracies and misunderstandings, according to Tiffany Flick, former acting chief of staff to be the acting commissioner. Holly Anna, 75, who's based in Baltimore and was nominated by President Barack Obama, is the latest judge to consider a DOGE-related case. The team has drawn nearly 24 lawsuits earlier this week. Another Maryland judge found that DOGE dismantled the United States Agency for International Development was likely unconstitutional. While other judges have raised questions about DOGE sweeping cost-effective efforts, they have not always agreed any risks were immediate enough to block the team from governing systems. But this is what they want. What they're trying to do is they are trying to dismantle everything as quickly as possible and as fast as they possibly can. Because the longer this goes on, the harder it will be. Because the more pushback will be. The more Americans figure out what they are doing. Because there's a lot of Americans who still don't know that what's going on. Who still think that all they're doing is just trying to look up fraud, when in actual fact they're actually trying to rip the whole system apart. I'm really scared for Americans. I really am. You know, people's personal information. You know, imagine if they looked up some of these personal information and they found out, oh, these are people. Some of these people might be anti-Trump supporters or said terrible things about Trump. You know, they could literally cut it off if they really wanted to. There are some tourist agencies being interviewed in the news. Yeah, tourism into America will be taking a plunge, even around here. School visas, studying trips and tourism in the Euro area reported to have dropped like a stone. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later, don't worry. Indeed, how is it possible an immigrant punches down other poor immigrants? That would never happen here in our enlightened kingdoms, says Chris Fisher. Speaking of storms, we have been under one heck of a storm these days. And it's not a big, well-blonde rain. Oh, ladies flying in the air, says Jal. Obviously, as well, with what's been happening with DOGE, you know, lots of workers have been fired as well. You're getting fired and rehired as well. This from NBC News. Fired, rehired, and baffled. Confusion reigns for thousands of reinstated federal workers. Thousands of federal workers have been abruptly fired and rehired, but some remain in the dark about what comes next. Yeah, because they realised, oh, we shouldn't have let them go. Bring them back in. Oh, oh, we can't let them. Oh no, we need you to come back in. Actually, we need you for that important job that we fired you from because we're trying to cut things down. But actually, we actually need you in order to keep things functioning because no one else can do the job that you do. Sorry. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you as a worker? You're doing your job and then you get fired and then you get literally a few days later or something, you get told, can you come back to your job? We kind of need you. Like, it was a mistake. Like, it's just playing about with people's lives here. It's they do such an important job, these federal workers. It's just despicable. Stop firing us. Rafael Garcia, an analyst at the Department of Veteran Affairs, who was abruptly fired last month amid President Donald Trump's sweeping push to shrink the federal workforce, learned this week that he was being reinstated following the court's orders from 2 federal judges. But the news did not end at the professional limbo that had defied Garcia's life for over a month. He's not actually back on the job. Instead, he's been placed on administrative leave while the Trump administration appeals the ruling from the 2 judges. Garcia has received verbal reassurances that he'll get back pay while he's on leave. But the whiplash of Trump's first 100 days in office has not exactly left him in a trusting state of mind. I'll believe it when I see it, Garcia told NBC News in an interview this week, adding that he won't know whether his salary has restarted until the end of the pay period of late March. Garcia is one of 24,000 probation federal workers who have been on a career roller coaster ride as Elon Musk's DOGE attempts to reshape the federal bureaucracy. These workers have been unceremoniously fired and rehired, but some remain in the dark about what comes next. In many cases, the rehired probation workers, meaning people who have held their positions for less than 2 years, were immediately placed on administrative leave, a temporary suspension with pay intact. And meanwhile, civil servants still face the looming prospects of more rounds of firing in the months and years ahead. More firings. More, even though they've already screwed up already. The saving grace about this Trump administration is that they're so stupid. They don't know. They are really, really dumb. And we can only hope that their stupidity leads them to their downfall. Honestly, I don't fully trust this administration. Yeah, no shit. And it's a point on whether or not I'll get back to work, said a Federal Emergency Management Agency employee who was fired, rehired, and then placed on leave. I've been out of work for a full month. In an email notifying him that he had been temporarily reinstated, the FEMA employee who was told he would get a call this week from the agency's Human Capital Department to discuss benefits and paperwork for getting him back on the job, but he hasn't heard from anyone yet. The employee, who spoke on condition of autonomy due to fear of reprisal, said he had no choice but to start looking for other jobs. Well, yeah, you got fired from your job, like you need to pay. You got to pay your bills, you know. I'd rather continue my work for FEMA and the American people, he said. But if I pass on another opportunity, but then get terminated again in a couple of weeks, it could make a bad situation even worse. Yeah. So here's the other thing. So they're planning to cut back even more on jobs, right? And if you get rehired, you get placed on these temporary leaves or whatever, and you could just get sacked again because obviously this Trump administration is just, you know, your job is not guaranteed. Your pay is not assured. So for them, it's like most of them. If I'm in their position, then I got put out of the job, and they tell you to come back in. I'd be like, I'm better off looking for another job because, you know, I just can't trust these guys. Like, I don't want to leave my job, but I just can't trust these guys that if I get back into that job, they're not going to kick me out again. The employee took a skeptical view of Trump's political appointees, and they have already broken confidence and trust. And it's hard. Sorry, 1 second. Just put my Twitch chat up just so I can see it. They have already broken my confidence and trust, and it's hard to know where to go from here. It's so confusing and so chaotic. In interviews, federal employees said they have found that agencies subject to the judge's orders were not communicating the latest developments to their workers in a uniformed way. In some instances, reinstated probationary workers have received email notifications. In other instances, they got phone calls from managers or supervisors. Sarah Baldwin, a probationary employee for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who was fired in February, said that she had not received a reinstatement notice as of Thursday. She now finds herself in an employment catch-22, wondering if her reinstatement notice was sent to a CDC email account she lost access to after she was fired. Yeah, of course, because you remember you have work emails, obviously, because you're federal employees, because you can't have them on your personal email. So they might have sent it to your work email, but you don't have access to your work email because you were fired. We need transparency. We're being lied to. It's unacceptable, she said. In an interview, an employee with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said she believes that the Trump administration intends to honor this reinstatement only for as long as its mass firings initiatives are blocked by federal judges. It's all just clearly in bad faith, said the CFPB employer, who spoke on conditional autonomy due to fear of professional repercussions. The federal government has acknowledged that some reinstated employees will confront various hurdles before they're up and running at work. In court filings accompanying the Justice Department's reprisal of the reinstatement orders, federal officials argued that restoring removed employees to full duty status would impose substantial burdens on various agencies, cause significant confusion, and cause turmoil for the terminated employees. Substantial burdens. You already screwed this up. Specifically, all employees offered reinstatement into full duty status would have to be on board again, including going through any application training, filling out human resources paperwork, obtaining new security badges, enrolling in benefits program and payroll, reintroducing applicable security clearance accesses, receiving government furnished equipment and other requisite administration actions. The Director of Human Capital Operations at the Environment Protection Agency said in one such filing. So they're basically saying they're trying to keep them fired. The judge wants them reinstated, but they're trying to put them off from reinstating them because, as one person's basically saying, well, we'll have to put you through all the training process. You're going to have to go through all of this again. And it's just like, yeah, but I'm qualified already because I went through this all again. Garcia, the Veterans Affairs employee, said he does not view any of these administrative tasks as burdens. He's eager to get back to his job and help the agency deal with the mounting workload that has been caused by staff cuts. This definitely does not cause us turmoil to be reinstated, Garcia said. I love what I did. I'm a disabled veteran. I know the struggles of transitioning out of the military. The real turmoil has been initially terminated and being unable to serve my fellow veteran community, he added. This is just absolutely horrible. It's an absolute horrible situation for these people, guys. They don't deserve this. They really, really do not. There is going to be a hell of a mess for the next president to sort out, assuming there is a next president. Yeah, says Stephen Moore. Yeah, whether there is going to be one or not is a good question. With the way things are going right now, it's just absolutely shambolic. There is already a plan here to receive at least 1 million of Portuguese back to the country, but there is almost 5 million people in the USA that can ask to return. No job, no healthcare, nothing, Giles says. There's a lot of skilled American workers being hired in Europe, Canada, and Australia, just to mention a few. Brain drain already began, and Trump and his gang are worried they need them. It's already affecting tourism in America, not just Canadians. Going a lot in Europe. They are cancelling their trips as they don't see it as a safe place to go. Yep, a lot of people doing that. We will come to that shortly, guys. Mark Wilkie, good to see you, buddy. Hope you are doing well. Yeah, but as for these American workers, obviously, that I don't know. Like, it's just kind of all over the place for them. It really, really is all over the place for them. And my heart goes out to them because at the end of the day, they've got bills to pay. You know, it's just a real sad state of affairs. My mic is low. I just turned it up as well. Do I need to put it closer to me? I don't know what more I can really do. I can try and put it closer to me. Hopefully that helps. I try not to shout if I can. But anyways, guys, I'll take a little breaky. I need to believe it or not, guys, today is actually the first day I've actually felt like I've been doing my job full time for a long time. Believe it or not. So, as you guys may have known, for members, just a reminder for those who are YouTube members, you might have seen a whole bunch of videos I've dropped down for YouTube members. So you got a bunch of videos, long videos dropping over the weekend and Monday. I've recorded today. I managed to do. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But anyways, let's have a little funny video to break things up. Garron wanted to give his point on Conor McGregor being in the White House. What could possibly go wrong? I'm sure he has valid. I'm sure Garron has sensible, reasonable things to say about Conor McGregor being in the White House for St. Patrick's Day, right?
So Conor McGregor was in the White House the other day. I have been inundated with messages to talk about this. Now, I get asked for my opinion on these kind of serious topics all the time. I don't know why the fuck people care, because I just shouted cups of tea on the internet. Now, the reason that I prefer not to make videos about this sort of shit is because I don't think it's fucking useful. The entire story of the world is being told in poorly researched headlines and 40-second fucking TikTok clips, and it is making people fucking nuts. For me to talk about this in a way that's even approaching being useful, I need to spend 25 minutes talking about Conor McGregor the person. I need to spend 40 minutes talking about immigration in Ireland. I need to spend 40 minutes talking about the fucking economy in Ireland. I need to spend an hour and a half talking about our fucking government. Now, my opinion on Conor McGregor is irrelevant, but I don't think he's a good person. I don't think it's particularly hard to find evidence of that. But it doesn't surprise me in the least to see a lot of people agreeing with what he was saying. There absolutely is an immigration issue in Ireland. That doesn't mean that people feel like we shouldn't take the refugees that we're able to take. It doesn't mean that people feel like people shouldn't be able to come here for better opportunities. But the systems that we have in place are being taken advantage of. And that is plain to see. And the government continually does not allow people to express their concerns about that. Along with this, Ireland continues to become one of the richest countries in the world, while most people's quality of life is going down. Our towns, and especially our cities, are becoming much less safe. Now, that's not just because of immigration. There's a lot of factors to that. But if you can't see that that's happening, then you have not left your house. Communities all over Ireland are concerned, and their concerns are continuously not being heard. And when you continuously suppress what people are feeling, you turn them towards more extreme beliefs, you increase their distrust in the government, and you push people towards racism and extremism. Now, no doubt, a lot of people in the comments are going to completely misconstrue what I've said here, but that's the internet for you. Anyway, stay delicious.
That was more of a serious one from Garron there. So I think it's only right
I'm going to
that we get
would you
an unserious, a serious one there, because that was a very serious one there. So it's only right that we play an unserious one here. This is some. I actually before I play this, I just actually want to comment on this. Chicago does this every St. Patrick's Day. They always paint their rivers green. This is something that they do all the time. So so obviously I'm curious to see how he reacts to this.
Would you look at them there dyeing the river green? Americans are fucking mental. I fucking love America. I love watching you. We don't do this weird shit in Ireland. Fuck me, if I walked out of the pub after a feed of pints and the river was fucking green, I'd probably piss myself. Here's a time lapse. Look at them. I think I was probably 25 before I realised America was a real place. I used to think we just came up with you to spice up the news. Oh look, your man from The Apprentice is bombing the Houthis. It's like an Irish fever dream. I feel like I haven't actually experienced being Irish until I go to America. I can't wait to see the fucking parades. I'm gonna review them tomorrow. America, enjoy your St. Patrick's Day, ye mental over-the-top fuckers. And follow me. I'm delicious.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few times. Yeah, they do that every year in Chicago. They always dye their rivers green. They do. They really go above and beyond there. Anyway, that's for sure, guys. But yeah. I know we saw the other ones, the Guinness one, obviously on Daily Blaze's live stream earlier as well, guys. Mithril, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for popping in. And anybody else who's lurking in the chat, just a reminder, if you haven't already, hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't too already. And if you want to financially support me, hit that join button down below. Let you become a YouTube member, get early access to additional content, as well get custom emojis and lots of other fun stuff. And I will be working back soon on the Rumble and Patreon content as well for exclusive content on there over the next couple of days, guys. So just bear with me on that, because I appear to be back to normal of some sorts. We'll have to see how it goes, obviously, guys. Anyways, thanks for all your support. Right, let's go to the next story now. The one that everyone's been talking about, really, and that is so a British tourist was detained in the United States after visa mix-up returns to the UK, according to reports. Images broadcast of Rebecca Burke's arrival at Heathrow after her release from immigration detention center. So just bear in mind, this is a couple of days ago, so this is obviously before what's happening with Heathrow right now, just for reference as well. But There was also a report. I saw a report of a British band. This was from Vosh's live stream. I think it was yesterday or day before he covered, where a British band that turned up in America didn't do anything wrong, had all their paperwork and everything, but was turned away. And do you want to know why they were turned away? Because they've said bad things about Donald Trump. They considered them a potential threat to Donald Trump and the Trump administration, so they were told that they would not be allowed entry into the United States. That's literally the gist of it. So here it is. This is the crux of the messaging, and we're going to come to another story as well, guys. This is the very clear message, right? If you have tweeted, if you have said anything about Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form, if America and what I believe some of the immigration border forces are doing to some immigrants is they're actually taking people's phones and checking their phones to check their history about things that they may or may have said about Donald Trump. I'm hearing those are allegations. I want to stress. So if you're an anti-Trump person and you're not a US citizen and you come to America, there's a high chance you will be told to fuck off back to your own country, basically. Now, I really want to go back to America. I was actually thinking that next year I'd try to go to America. Obviously, I cannot do that, and you want to know why, guys? Because I have criticised Donald Trump, and even if I turned up in America wearing a MAGA hat, there's a high chance I could still get turned away because of what I do here for a living and what I've said about Donald Trump. So basically, if you have in any way, shape, or form been critical of Donald Trump, if you are of a certain skin color, of a certain nationality, you could be detained by ICE and sent back to your country. Essentially, unless you are a proper MAGA supporter and you're shown to be a MAGA supporter, you will have no problems entering the United States of America. So it's it's no longer safe to travel to America. And this is growing. This is growing, and it's only a matter of time before nations start telling tourists to stop travel to America. Now, Germany and the United States. Some of you guys may have saw the community post that I had put up. I think it was today. That the United Kingdom and Germany, I believe, updated their travel advice about going to the US. They did not say that you not to travel to the United States. They basically said make sure you have all your documentations in place. But even if you have all your documentation in place, guys, you could still be sent back to your country. That's really it. Let's read this story because there are more stories obviously on this, guys. So a British woman was detained in the US for 3 weeks because of a visa mix-up and had reportedly arrived back in the UK. So Sky News broadcast images from Rebecca Burks, 28, a graphic artist from Monmouthshire, being welcomed at Heathrow Airport by her loved ones. Her return to the UK comes after her family confirmed that she had been released from an immigration detention centre. A Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office spokesperson said, "We supported a British national who was detained in the US and were in contact with local authorities, but was trying to cross into the US state of Washington from Canada. When she was refused entry, Canadian authorities told her to go back to the US and fill in new paperwork before returning. However, when she tried to re-enter the US, she was handcuffed and put in a cell before being taken to Tanamar Northwest Detention Facility." Handcuffed, guys, remember? Handcuffed, yeah? Her father, Paul Brock, previously said that she was being held by immigration enforcement ICE in horrendous conditions and had not had access to legal representation. Yeah, you don't get legal representation by ICE as well, by the way. Yeah, you don't get that. Speaking on Tuesday, Burke said she left the detention centre yesterday afternoon. She had been planning to stay with a host of families where she would carry out domestic chores in exchange for accommodation. She was told she would have applied for a working visa instead of a tourist visa. She had previously been staying for a host family in Portland, Oregon, under a similar arrangement after spending time sightseeing in New York City, where she first arrived from the UK at the start of the year. The family raised nearly £10,000 online to contribute towards her legal fees, living costs, and return flight home. And promised to donate any surplus charities to Seattle, supporting individuals in similar situations. But yeah, she was put in horrendous conditions and had no access to legal representation. This and this is not talking about, and I know we've already talked about this obviously, but there's also the stories about the people who have been rounded up, Venezuelans, legal Venezuelans, who have been so-called linked to a certain gang, been rounded up and sent to El Salvador against their will. But this is basically another thing that ICE are basically doing. So basically, you just can't go to America now. And it's actually really sad because I want to go back to America. I really actually want to go back to America. But in order for me to do that, I would have to have a clean phone. And hope that they don't look up my alias that you guys know me as Reganelite, and hopefully not link my real name to what I do. America's not the most welcoming of places. I wonder why, says Tories don't get tasered. Yeah, indeed. Good to see you, Tories don't get tasered. I'd quite like to do the Trans Rocket train in Canada, though, says Mithril. Well, we need to start sending the Americans back to their champions too, says Jow. You couldn't pay me to go to the US anyways, but it's becoming, if you don't agree with the dear leader, you're not welcome. Yeah, there seems to be the message anyway. My friend in California, Christmas has just also, my friend in California, his daughter is going to the US. I advise her to wipe her phone in case she gets got a Trump bean or something on her phone. It's as bad as that. Yeah, you need to basically clean your phone. Or what you could do is literally have a new phone and not associated with your data there, and literally just have contact numbers on it, something like that. Just to basically, as my dad always says, cover your ass, basically. Because there's if they don't have access to your phone, they can check your phone. But if you don't have a phone that's connecting you to things that you've said about Trump, like they can only look up your records. They can't look up your social medias. They can do that through your phone. But if your phone is not connected to your socials, then you could possibly get away with it. But even then, that's not guaranteed. That's not guaranteed. Weeks-long lockup of European tourists at US border sparks fear of travelling to America. Leon Taylor and her German fiancé often took road trips to Mexico when he vacationed in the United States, since it was only a day drive from her home in Las Vegas, one of the perks of their long-distance relationship. But things went terribly wrong when they drove back to Tunisia last month. US border agencies handcuffed Tyler, a US citizen, and chained her to a bench, while her fiancé Lucas Selev was accused of violating the rules of his 90-day US tourist permit, the couple said. Authorities later handcuffed and shackled Salif and sent him to a crowded US immigration detention center. He spent 16 days locked up before being allowed to fly home to Germany. Handcuffed, shackled, chained to a bench. This is a US citizen as well. Like, ICE, okay, they can do whatever the hell they want. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can't, like, even if you are somehow able getting a call to your embassy, there's only so much the embassies can do. I think Vosh made a great point, I think it was yesterday as well, when he was talking about this. So, these are only stories that we are hearing. And I mentioned this before about there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get rounded up that we don't know about. But as time goes on, you're going to get more of this from embassies in the US, who are going to get more phone calls from this, from whether it's from the UK embassy or the German embassy, the French embassy, other embassies in Europe are going to keep getting these phone calls. They're going to keep getting told that these are happening to people consistently. Because the more they hear about this, the more they're going to be saying to their governments, "Hey, we America, like, something's going wrong here, because our citizens keep getting rounded up or disappearing in America. Maybe we should stop telling our citizens to go to the US." The message now is you need to stop going to America. Now, I don't imagine like the French president or Keir Starmer coming out and saying, do not travel to the US, because obviously that would piss off the Trump administration. But at the same time, I'm kind of hoping that will eventually happen is that European nations and the European nations, including the UK, basically say to Trump, you need to put a leash on ICE, because if you don't, we're gonna stop all our people traveling and visiting your country. And what I hope is that ICE get put on a leash with what they're doing, and a bit more lenient when it comes to Europeans. That is what my hope is, but I'm kind of holding my breath on that because Trump is like is an uncontrollable orange baby that is just out of control. That's my hope, but I'm not holding my breath on that, if I'm honest. Well, I guess Tyler will be joining her fiance in Germany too and never return. Since President Donald Trump took office, there have been other instances of tourists like Silif being stopped at US borders crossings and being held for weeks at US immigration detention facilities before being allowed to fly home at their own expenses. They include another German tourist who was stopped at the Tunisia crossing on January 25th. Jessica Brosher spent up to 6 weeks locked up, including over a week in solitary confinement. You could be put in solitary confinement because they can. Like, it doesn't matter if there's been a mix-up on your documents or whatever. Like, you're not an American citizen. Who gives a fuck? We're still going to put you in solitary confinement. On the Canadian border, a backpacker from Wales spent nearly 3 weeks in detention before being flown home this week, and a Canadian woman on a work visa detained at Tisua border spent 12 days in detention before being returned home last weekend. CF25 and the others said they never made it very clear why they were taken into custody, even after they offered to go home voluntarily. Piros Relos, director of Americans Friends Service Committee, a non-profit that aids migrants, said that in the 22 years he has worked on the border, he has never seen travellers from Western Europe and Canada, long-time US allies, locked up like this. It's definitely unusual with these cases so close, and the rationale for detaining these people doesn't make sense, he said. Doesn't justify the abhorrent treatment and conditions they've endured. The only reason I see this is a much more fair and anti-immigration atmosphere, Rios has said. Of course, tourists from countries where US requires visas, many of them non-Western nations, have long encountered difficulties entered the US. US authorities did not respond to requests for the Association Press for figures on how many tourists they have recently been held at detention centers or explain why they were simply denied entry. The instances are fueling anxiety as the Trump administration prepares for a ban on travelers in some countries, note in the evolving federal travel policies. The University of California, Los Angeles sent a notice this week urging its foreign-born students and staff to consider the risk of traveling for spring break, warning that re-entry requirements may change while you're away, impacting your return. Oh, spring break. Uh-oh, that might be really difficult. They always like to travel away on spring break, don't they, Americans? It's not good. Immigration and Customs informed us agency in the email to the AP that Silif and Brosher, who were held for 45 days, were deemed inadmissible by Customs and Border Protection. The agency said it cannot discuss specifics, but if statutes or visa terms are violated, travellers may be subject to detention or removal. The agency did not comment on the other cases. Both German tourists were allowed into the United States under a program offered to a select group of countries, mostly in Europe and Asia, whose citizens are allowed to travel to the US for business or leisure up to 90 days without getting a visa in advance. Applicants register online with the electronic system for travel authorization. That even if they are authorized to travel under that system, they can still be barred from entering the country. Silif arrived in the US on January 27th. He and Tyler decided to go to Tanzania for 4 days in mid-February because Tyler's dog needed surgery and veterinary services are cheaper there. They figured they would enjoy some tacos and make a fun trip out of it. Mexico is a wonderful and beautiful country that Lucas and I love to visit, Tyler said. When they returned on February the 18th, just 22 days into Silif's 90-day tourist permit. When they pulled up to the crossing, the US border agency asked Silif aggressively, "Where are you going? Where do you live?" Tyler said. English is not Lucas's third language, so he said, "We're going to Las Vegas," and the agent said, "Oh, we caught you. You live in Las Vegas? You can't do that," Tyler said. Silif was taken away for more questioning. Tyler said she could go with him or if he could get a translator, or was told to be quiet. Then he was taken out of the car, handcuffed and chained to a bench. Her dog, recovered from the surgery, was left in the car. After 4 hours, Tyler was allowed to leave, but she was given no information of fiance's whereabouts. This is what's a lot's happening. A lot of people disappearing. People are disappearing, guys. During questioning, Sirleaf had told authorities he never lived in the US. He had no criminal history. He said he was given a full body search, all to hand over his cell phone, his belongings. He was put in a holding cell where he slept on a bench for 2 days before being transferred to Ole Mesa Detention Center in San Diego. There, he said he shared a cell with 8 others. You are angry, you are sad, you don't know when you could get out, Sirleaf said. You just don't get any answers from anybody. He was finally told to get a direct flight to Germany and submit a confirmation number. In a frantic call from Sirleaf, Tyler bought it for $2,744. He flew back on March the 5th. What happened at the border was just blatant abuse of the Border Patrol's power, Tyler said. Ashley Postos agrees. She says she learned about the brochure from a TikTok video asking anyone in the San Diego help. After her family learned she was being held at the Ole Mesa Detention Center, Preskin visited several times and told her people who were working to get her help. Brochures flew home on March 11th. There was quite a few stories around San Diego in particular. That's where where it's the most, unfortunately. Sean, good to see you there in the chat. Hope you're doing well. She's happy to be home, Paskin said. She seems very relieved, if anything, but she's not coming back here anytime soon. I think we covered that one. On February 26th, a tourist from Wales, Becky Brooke, a back traveller, travelling across North America, stopped the US-Canada borders, held for nearly 3 weeks at detention center in Washington State. Yeah, we talked about that one already. On March the 3rd, Canadian Jasmine Mollett, an actress and entrepreneur on the US work visa. This is a white woman, but I'm pretty sure this is the white woman. That story that I heard from The Independent. Was detained at the Tussauds Crossing. She was released Saturday, her friend Brittany Crosser said. Before Molly's release, British Columbia Premier David Edby expressed concern, saying, it certainly reinforces anxiety that many Canadians have about our relationship with the US now and the unprecedented of this administration and its actions. Being a Canadian MP basically told Canadians to stop travelling to the US. Was that today or yesterday, guys? There was a Canadian politician came out and told Canadians to stop travelling to the US. The attention comes amid legal fights over the Trump administration's arrest and deportation of other foreigners with valid visas and green card holders, including a Palestinian activist who helped organise a campus protest of the war in Gaza. Tyler plans to sue the US government. They got a lot of that. Sirleaf said he and Tyler now rethink plans to hold their weddings in Las Vegas. He suffered nightmares and considers therapy to cope with the trauma. Nobody's safe there anymore to come to America as a tourist, he said. Absolutely. The message is quite clear. Just don't go to America, guys. You cannot go to America in its current situation. I don't know if or when they'll be able to go to America, but like, this sounds crazy, guys, but like, I'd like to visit Moscow one day as well. You know, despite everything that's happening there, like, I'd like to visit China, but I'm also petrified there, you know, because I do want to see these parts of the world. But, you know, I just feel like that my rights are completely meaningless if I step foot in any of these countries. But things can change, you know. The more I see of what's going on in the US, the happier that I'm free from the land of the free, even if it wasn't free to get freedom, says just a housewife. Yeah, indeed. It's really scary. I really am concerned. I really am concerned. You know, I do have an uncle that lives in America as well. I've not ever spoke to him for quite a while. And no, I really like. I have said I want to go back to America, but Canada will have to be the closest for me, I'm afraid, guys. UK, Germany also made travel warnings to the US. 10 gone full fascist, safer going to Moscow than DC. Says Chris Fisher. Yes, they said on their travel advice, but they specifically they updated the travel advice, but they haven't said to people not to travel to the US. It's very. If you read the actual documentation, it says they haven't told people to not travel to the US. They just basically updated it. They've updated it basically. Anyways, I haven't got full of money anyway, so I won't be traveling to America anytime soon anyway, guys. Yeah, we just have to, you know, on the outside, we're just gonna have to carry on. But the good news is I can still criticize Donald Trump, can't I suppose? You know, I can still criticize Donald Trump. Just like this last story, guys. You know, you know, the sourness of this Trump administration towards Canada is just growing and growing every day, guys. So this is from Al Jazeera. The US are blocking Canadian access to historical library in the Quebec-Vermont border. Haskell's Free Library denounces unilateral US moves amid tensions over Donald Trump's continuing threats against Canada. So let me read the story just for those who don't understand what this one's about. So US President Donald Trump's administration is cutting off Canada's main access point to a historical library that straddles the border between the Canadian province of Quebec and the US state of Vermont. In a joint statement late on Thursday, the Quebec border town of Stansted and the Haskell Free Library and Opera House said that the United States has made an unilateral decision to close the main Canadian access to the building. This closure not only compromises Canadian visitors' access to the historical symbol of cooperation and harmony between the two countries, but also weakens the spirit of the cross-border collaboration that defines this iconic location, they said. Furthermore, it necessitates significant infrastructure adjustments to comply with new constraints. The US Customs and Border Protection did not immediately respond to Al Jazeera's request for comment on the decision on Friday. That's today. The move comes amidst soaring tensions between the US and Canada over Trump's repeated threats to annex his country's northern neighbour, as well as the imposition of steep tariffs on Canadian goods. And by the way, also, Trump has once again reiterated again that he's very serious about annexing Canada, which is very frightening indeed. Like Canada... I think Canada needs to be seriously prepared. If they're not preparing for war, they need to be preparing for war, because you know he's not shutting up about it. He's not shutting up about it. It's so scary right now for Canada. Like it was first a joke, but it's not a joke anymore. Yeah, it's very worrying times. I really worry for Canadians out there. I really do. It's worded softly, but unless you have a MAGA hat, I think twice. Yeah, I mean, if I buy a MAGA hat and walk into the airport, they might be a bit more lenient on me. Yeah, you have to wear a MAGA shirt, and they'll probably be a bit more lenient on you. So, Senator Peter Walsh there, reports of Trump's closing off Canada's access to Haskell Free Library and Opera House are troubling, and if true, an escalation in this rhetoric against our neighbour and ally. Vermont loves Canada, and this is shared cultural institutions, celebrates the partnership between our two nations. Reports of Trump's closing off Canadian access to the Haskell Free Library and Opera House are troubling. I just read that. Vermont loves Canada. Yeah, I've just read that as well, sorry. First opened in 1905, a year after the Opera House, the Haskell Free Library was purposely constructed in both the US and Canada in a show of solidarity between residents and the then porous border area. The border bisects the building, and a line of black tape that runs across the library's main entrance hall and children's reading room. I cannot say that word, sorry. The dividing line. The main entrance on the US side of the frontier, and to get into the building, Canadians must be able to walk across the border and then head for the front door. Passports are not required, but the library tells visitors to expect their movements to be monitored and to carry identification. Amid Trump's threats against Canada in late January, US Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem made an unannounced visit to the library. Deborah Bishop's Haskell's executive director told Canadian outlet CTV News that Noem stood on the US side and said USA #1 during a tour of the building. And then she crossed the line and said the 51st state, the bishop said in reference to Trump's continued push to make Canada into a US state. But she did this on 3 occasions. Excuse me. There was no mention of Canada, just the 51st state, Bishop told CTV, adding that the comments were poorly received by the people at the library. Yeah, because it's pretty insulting to them. No worries, Alistair Keir. Thanks for popping in, and thank you for the gifted memberships. Really appreciate it. We welcome her with courtesy and respect, but I think she should have reacted in the same way. She was in Canada. I mean, when you step over that line, you are technically in Canada. So maybe be respectful towards the people in the room who are Canadian. Canadian leaders have rejected Trump's push to annex the country. Prime Minister Mark Carney last week called his idea crazy. Carney said he's willing to meet with Trump's administration to discuss tariffs and other policies, but only if Canada's sovereignty is respected. Oh. I've been talking for so long that my throat is starting to go, guys. One second. Been doing too much recording today, guys. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. When it gets later, my voice starts to really go. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna need more lemon and honey before I go to bed. Yeah, it's pretty despicable. Really, really despicable of them for this. I really feel sorry for these Canadians. Like, it's a shared culture between the two sides. It really, really is. Today, the US closed access to the library for all Canadians this down. Yeah, it definitely feels that way. Is that what they've announced today? Sorry. Dear oh dear, sorry guys. Whew. You know what, I think I'm going to slow down my voice. Let me have a quick look and see what you guys are saying in the chat. I'll be turning around because our barmaid, I have no doubt, it'd be too territorial to look. Says Chris Fisher. Lots of Portuguese tourists have just laid for Moscow and then applied to enter in China, and they have no issues on it. Says Zhao there. There are some areas on the borders that shared hospitals and other services, that says Just a House Rife as well. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. Oh dear. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up because my throat is really, really going. And I don't know, maybe it's because I've done too much talking today. But just before I go, I've got one last funny video for you guys. I do apologise for this bit of the abrupt ending because I wanted to share this, guys, with you guys because this is funny. I hope you guys. I don't know. I wasn't there for every single moment of Daily Blase's live stream, so I don't know if he shared this one or not. But I sent this to him anyway. But yeah, this it's really, really terrible news, guys. I'm sorry to report this.
Breaking news. It is with great sadness that we report that Donald Trump has been found alive at his Mar-a-Lago home. Now we prepare for another day of the orange taint, fucking up everything in this country. But don't give up hope. There's always a chance in tomorrow's obituaries.
Oh dear, guys. Unfortunately, he is still alive. We'll have to check tomorrow to find out if something's different, guys. But unfortunately, yes, he is still alive. He is still alive, guys. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you, guys, for all your comments. Thank you, Stephen Banker and Alistair Keir for the gifted memberships today. It's greatly appreciated. Considering as well that this month has been really terrible in terms of really terrible for me. I really hope by Monday I'll be a lot cleared up. Because yeah, money wise, it's not been very good for me, guys. It's not been very good for me money wise. So thank you guys for those memberships. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone coming out today. I know obviously most of us will be watching Max's live stream, but as you guys know, he's not here. But I just wanted to give you guys a little something tonight, even though he wasn't here. So those who aren't normally here, it's greatly appreciate you guys coming along. I will be back on Monday with another live stream. There's plenty of content dropping over the next couple of days for you guys anyway. So do check out that stuff on the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Plenty of community posts as well. I still plan on doing... Is it this Thursday? Yeah, I still plan on doing the Eco Flex show next week with myself and One Angry Pagan, so do join us for that too. Yeah, thank you guys all for coming along. Anyway, I hope you found today's live stream informative or helpful in any way to you, in any way, shape or form. But just before I go, guys, I want you to say have a wonderful weekend. The gang here also says to have a wonderful weekend as well. I don't know what is compiled Ollie to get on top of the lava lamp, but he has done indeed. But the gang want to say thank you as well for being here as well. Really appreciated it as well. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, to support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or check out the Rumble and Patreon content for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and hope to catch you all very, very soon. And Darren says, buy a hot water bottle. That is a good idea, Darren. Except we've got 3 hot water bottles already, but I will certainly consider that. Thank you so much for the £10 super chat right at the end there. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you, much appreciated. But yes, take care, Darren, and everybody else. Have a wonderful weekend. Look after yourselves. Don't worry, guys. I won't be doing much recording over the weekend if I'm feeling like this, but I will recover. It's just gonna take time, guys. But take care, everyone, and have a great weekend.